All right, guys, Baba Yaga here, coming to you with a little bit of a different vibe. Although we got our bull and our bear, and John Wick himself in this video, so it's bound to be a good one, right? So I mentioned the idea on Twitter that I was going to put out a couple of new things this weekend. I've recorded some stuff and still recording. Gonna have to chop it up and get it put together. But one thing that I wanted to cover was some statistic type stuff, but not statistics like win loss or statistics like profitability or RSQ or anything like that. But like emotional statistics, right? I think sometimes we focus too much on the emotions. We can focus too much on the psychology and get paralyzed. If I don't have everything perfect, like mentally, in a big picture sense, got to work out all my demons before I'll ever be good at this. I don't think that's realistic. At the same time, I think to ignore some of the emotional stuff and pretend like trading is 100% mechanical and that we're robots is also unreasonable. So this is a place that in over at Vanta we've spent a lot of time over the last several months just kind of processing and thinking through some of this stuff. So I've got 5 things listed out to talk about from our like emotional gas tank, right? So uh, the first thing that I would say when we're thinking about our emotions coming into the day trading is like our surroundings, not just like what's around you in the room, but like how has your morning been? Are you on the same kind of schedule as you normally would? Are things settled like with a spouse or significant other? Or have you just had a difficult morning and now you're coming to the desk carrying a lot of baggage? I think sometimes we overlook that, and I think it definitely is something to keep at the forefront as like the same kind of checklist that you have when you are working through your plan for the day. So for me, I'm looking at value and balance. I'm looking at market structure from 4 hour and daily and in some other interesting time frame perspectives. Various other things that I'll consider. There's videos on that if you're curious, but that's more technical. This is like the soft skills side of trading, right? I think it's important to have like a checklist for that. So first thing is that surroundings, like how has the morning been? How is everything with you? And how you would normally approach the day. Is everything good? And I think that begins right off the bat to kind of inform you how how your emotional gas tank is. Is it full? Or is just the way the morning's gone? Has that already like taken a little bit of a toll on you? So that's number one. Number two is the market. Not so much looking at the market and like making a bunch of decisions, but looking at the market. When you first look at it in the morning, do you have a knee jerk reaction? Oh, I really want to short this. Oh, I really want to long this. Um, I'm really frustrated that the overnight auction looks the way it looks. I know sometimes for me, I look at where we're opening and I'm just like, oh, it's just a little bit annoying. Like, we're not in a place that I'm super excited about doing some transactions. So that can be another like slight depletion of that like emotional capacity or that emotional gas tank that you bring to the table. So keep check on like how the morning went leading up to starting the trading day. Another thing that I'm aware of is like how I initially feel about the market when I look at it, right? Then we get into a couple of other like more practical in the moment type things or throughout the trading day type things that I think everybody should be paying attention to. And the one is your posture. I know it sounds weird, and I'm not advocating for like everyone should have perfect posture. I mean, or posture. I'm sort of like you know a slouch in the chair with one hand in my hoodie pocket and one hand on the mouse and relaxed, like I was. That's when I'm trading well. What I've noticed though is as I trade throughout a day, and let's say I have a difficult stretch or have a couple of bad trades, I begin to get really forward in the chair. I a lot of times will take my feet and cross them and tuck them under the feet of my like rolly chair. And whenever I start to get that type of posture, that is a unconscious movement that I'm making that is usually preceding me doing something that's just not helpful, right? Maybe I'm about to start getting too aggressive. Maybe I'm starting to look too hard to find a trade opportunity. So keeping a check on my posture throughout the day and make sure that I am casual and comfortable, and that I'm not doing some of these unconscious things that I know from evaluating my trading over the long term create me doing some making some bad decisions. Um, we're gonna skip number four. It's got a dollar sign. We're gonna go over here to number five, right? So we'll come back to the number four. We're gonna hit number five. That's thoughts, and thoughts and posture kind of go hand in hand. And what I'm talking about with thoughts is when I find myself questioning the sanity of other traders' decisions, and not people that I'm trading with, but like as I see the market develop and if it moves higher, moving lower, whatever's happening, if I find myself thinking, who would be buying here? That is crazy. Or who in the world would be selling here? That's crazy. Or I find myself thinking, wow, these people are, this market's just full of idiots. There's a handful of other thoughts, but those thoughts come to my mind way before I do something stupid, way before I overtrade, way before I make bad decisions. Those type of thoughts start to be the leading predominant thoughts in my mind. I've moved then away from like evaluating the market from a technical and structural standpoint and making informed decisions that way. And I've moved towards having like accusatory thoughts towards other people who are choosing to participate in the market at large, right? So the thoughts and posture thing really come from years of trading and looking back and thinking through and taking notes throughout the day, on good days and bad days, of things that I'm thinking. And then by being live all the time, I see myself. So I notice my posture. I notice how I'm sitting when I review videos. I notice that as well. And so those are the specific things for me, some of those thoughts, and then the way that my posture comes from that data that I have collected over a large period of time that informs me like, hey, when you are again, when you're sitting this way, you're too keyed up. And if I look at those days, like those days that I get jacked up like that, oftentimes not good results. So for you, it may be very different, but I think evaluating your posture and your thoughts throughout the trading day and notating them on the chart or on a notepad on the desk or however you would want to do it, you will notice that before you make poor trading decisions, before you give up three or four stops for no good reason, a lot of times your body, the way you sit, the way you're thinking, is giving you little tells that you're going in a certain direction that you don't want to end up going in. And so I think a lot of times that gets overlooked. And so I just wanted to encourage everybody that ends up watching this to really think through that. Most traders do not lose accounts or lose large amounts of money by having reasonable sized losing trades, and therefore having reasonable sized losing days. And they look up after 45 days and they've just, cumulatively have lost too much. Most traders, uh, my experience with guys that I've worked with is that they'll trade well for a while, get really confident, kind of really stop their going through their processes tidy. They stop doing a lot of things that got them to that consistency. They take a couple losses. They get them. Maybe they had a bad morning. They come in kind of not really digging the way the market's set up. They take a few stops. They get tense, whatever that looks like physically for you, sitting a certain way, leaning in, not leaning in, whatever. And they're thinking things like, "Oh, I'll get this back. I can't believe they did this to me. Um, I can't believe people have been buying this." You start to think that kind of stuff. a lot of times that leads to those outsized losing days, those account blowing days, or days where you put in all this work on like a funded account kind of thing, and then you're really close to finishing it, or maybe you just finished it, and then those kind of thoughts and that kind of stuff causes you to have this really outsized red day. So all of the things I've mentioned so far, they're not really P&L related, right? Meaning they're not measuring your P&L. We're measuring ourselves and our surroundings, right? The last one, number four, which is out of order. Number four, again, so the point, most traders don't make massive mistakes over a big, long period of time that cost them large amounts of money. It happens in a day, in a moment, or a series of decisions that were all preceded by things off of this list before the big loss number, right? And those things kind of set you off. It's like lighting the fuse. So we want to notice when the fuse has been lit or has been lit. The last thing is money. Now, people will think differently about this, but I think it's very important to look at your statistics over a large period of time and become very familiar with two things with regard to drawdown and uh, losses, taking stops. One, there's either a dollar sign, a number of points, or a number of stops that when you pass that threshold, statistically, in a day, you're trading, you're not going to recover from it. It could be, I don't know why that is, but I know over my years of trading, I've fine tuned that number. I know what it is. I know my recovery rate. And if I lose a certain number of points, I know that one, that's going to take an emotional toll. My thoughts are going to be all over the place. I'm going to have a really hard time being settled and making good decisions. And so, and that amount is not like it's not an account blowing amount. It's not a dramatic thing. It's a normal loss ratio based on my winning days. So I have this number of points that I know if I lose this number of points, I just need to be done. I'm obviously losing more points than I want to, but it's not anything that can't be swept up with one normal day, right? When you aren't clear on what that is, then what are you using to make the decision that's objective, that tells you, hey, you don't have it today. Like you're not in line, you're not in lockstep with the market, you're not tracking with it. So I think people really need to think about that. What is the amount of money, not that your account can tolerate you losing? What amount of that can your emotional gas tank, how much of it is, what's the toll going to be on that based on that amount of money? And then I think you need to kind of like keep that pretty solid and kind of stick to that. So for me, Thursday this past week was awesome. I mentioned on the podcast I'd like 3 more weeks of this type of activity, but I also know that like on Thursday I was darn close to that number. Emotionally, I was fine, but I was close to that number of points where I just know that like statistically, if I'm in that amount of drawdown, I'm not coming back from it, right? And so I talked to the guys in the room and I said, "Yo, I've got 2 more stops worth of trades to take. I'd like them to be great trades. To be really patient on them. I'm also going to take the next trade on a third size, so 1/3 of my normal size, and then if the market confirms my idea, I'll add to it, and that'll allow me to manage and mitigate that risk a little bit more. And then if that trade develops properly, that'll give me the freedom to then have a little more room to take another trade if it so presents itself. If the market gives us an opportunity, and so that allowed me to go from within reach of that personal drawdown number that I just know I don't recover from well uh, throughout a day, that's the one note. It's not what can you financially recover from. It's intraday P&L drawdown that statistically based on all of your previous trading days, that once you get below that, it's very unlikely that you bring that back up. Think of like the market. When the market's going down, um, maybe everybody's looking to be a dip buyer, but there's also a point where you have to realize, hey, if all the trend day characteristics are there for the market to be trending in one direction, you need to be really careful fading that. It's just not worth it. Same thing for your own personal trading capacity. You get to a certain point, and it's just like, I I don't think based on what I've seen in the past, it's wise to try to fade this P&L drawdown. So I'm just going to be hands off. So it's like being really aware of that. But that Thursday, um, that trade, the next trade I took, I was able to add to it. I was able to walk some of that drawdown back, get back to about half of that P&L drawdown number. And I felt like that was really good. Shut it down, came back in Globex Thursday night, made that, made some great trades there, made that amount back. Plus, plenty of points. Didn't trade it all on Friday. Um, I probably traded probably three times more hours in the seat last week than a normal week, and so I felt really great about just being done by Friday, and it was great. But if I had have kept trying, forcing the issue, didn't have an awareness of that dollar sign figure or disregarded it, then I could have put myself in a situation where I had like the get back attitude, which I think that's the other thing to point out is a lot of times the reason that you come back to the desk after a red day with a get back attitude is because you lost more than you should have. And again, you lost more, and you have now an emotional deficit that you're working from the next day you come back to the desk, because all that stuff carries over to the next day. So I know this is a little different vibe of video. I know it's a little bit longer, probably not as, oh, what's the next magic nugget, or how are you doing your stuff? And we'll talk more about some trading stuff, whatever. But for this video, it's the emotional awareness of your surroundings when you come to the desk, the the attitude you have towards the market and where it's trading, being aware of your posture and your thoughts way before your P&L reflects that you're out of line, and then having a number that if you lose more than that, one, emotionally, you're going to come up to the table the next day with a deficit. So that's no good. And two, statistically, you're not going to be able to, fade yourself and get back to where you're at break even or better. Just not likely. Those, five things I think I don't think people get as specific as they should about what things emotionally traders should be paying attention to. And again, with the posture and thoughts, that always precedes like changing the way you're sitting and getting all aggressive and thinking ridiculous thoughts about people, the market in general, whatever. That's always going to precede making bad decisions. So if you notice those things, or at least if you can be aware of them, it's like your subconscious giving you a tap on the shoulder or giving you a clue, like if you're playing poker or something, like that's the tell, that's your tell that things are about to get out of line. And I think as we go into this next week, if we see this continued volatility, wide ranges, lots of opportunity, this is the kind of stuff, because you shouldn't be retooling your approach to the market, as far as like what you use to trade. It's not a time for that kind of work necessarily, unless you're forward testing something that's a high vol strategy or something like that. But it's a great time to really focus up and lock down on this type of stuff and make sure that you're aware of it, because in this market, if you're emotionally out of sorts, just like you can make a lot more than on a normal day when we have these wide ranges, if emotionally you're really out of sorts, you have the potential to lose dramatically more than you would on a normal day. And so I think it's a timely video. It's something that's been on the front of our conversations at Vansa. One of the things that we've started doing in the mornings is taking a few minutes of our prep time and just checking in with everybody. How's everybody doing? Is everybody good? Is there anybody that needs to sit the day out because life has been crazy for them, or things have been a mess this morning, or they're really just, having an issue outside of trading that's distracting them? Dude, that is incredibly valuable. I think it's as valuable as knowing, as having a good idea about how to trade and where areas you want to trade and how you decipher what's going on in the market. So hopefully you find this helpful. If you enjoy this video, obviously you see we have a lot of other ones on here. Haven't been making as many lately, but trying to get going with that a little more, just to be helpful. And yeah, come over to our Discord, Banta Trading. You can find links to it on my Twitter, Baba Yaga Trades. I'll have the same background in the banner of my Twitter account. It'll also be in the like description stuff below. Check it out, or on the YouTube channel. There's links to that stuff. So come check us out. It's free. We have a free sided server. We trade there live on Fridays. There is a paid side for daily plans and daily live trading that we do. But we still, like I said, do it for free on Fridays with anyone in the Discord. There's kind of two sides to it, the Vanta side and the shop side. So, and all this video content is made available, eventually is made available to everybody. So, hope you find it helpful. Yeah, and what are your thoughts? What are your emotional checklists? What are the things that you're aware of? The soft skills of trading that you're keeping at the forefront of your mind, the things that you're working on. Would love to see those. If anybody wants to throw some comments in there and talk about it, that'd be great. We'll keep an eye on it. I hope you're doing well, and see you on the next one.